I think actually right now we're at the most interesting time in terms of the shift, because the problem I think with community colleges in general is that they've tried to be all things to all people. So you're never really sure. We can say, like in Alicia's article about transfer rates, that transfer rates nationally are really abysmal. But not everybody who goes to a community college wants to transfer. So it's hard to, hold an institution to a particular goal when not everybody who's coming in wants that. We assume if you go to ASU or you go to USC that someone comes in and he or she wants to get a 4-year degree. That's not true in community colleges. And the reason I say it's interesting now is I think we're seeing a shift. Now there's a danger to it that I can talk about, but I think that the shift is going to be more towards 2-year degrees and transfer, rather than, I don't want to say extraneous classes, but classes just for general enrichment will probably go away. And those who are most at risk will probably be, it will be harder for them to participate in community college. Well, again, all of these are related issues, and again, they're really interesting questions right now, because we can say that open access institutions and community colleges are open access, are really trying to give those who are least able to get a higher education, So on one level, that's terrific. On another level, if we're all citizens and we're all paying tax dollars, and we have finite amount of money, and if I give you $10 and you have to take a remedial writing class, and you will take it, finish it, and get a degree. But if I give you a $10 and it will take you 2 or 3 classes to get a degree, and if you give me $10, I'll never get a degree because I'm just not ready. For one reason or another, I'm not there. So in terms of public policy, the movement is moving towards, in terms of access and equity, it's a shift. They're saying that the best use of public funds is to spend money on those who are most likely to get through community college. Now again, I understand that. What that could mean is that we're going to see greater completion rates and greater transfer rates in community colleges. So in one sense, we could say, look at this, we're being better at access and equity. The flip side of that, though, is that those who are most at risk in our society will be left by the wayside. Now, some might say, well, they're being left by the wayside already. So, that's life. But I'm not very comfortable with that.
Okay.
There are a bunch of problems, and it all revolves around money. I mean, each state is reeling from the recession. And, if you look at the amount of money that has been cut by the state, it's enormous, which has foreclosed access. At the same time, if you look at institutions and try to think, how are we going to increase capacity? Because we all know we need more people participating in higher education. So who are those people? Well, they're basically 2 populations. They're low-income, working-class youth, or they're working adults. Where are those 2 populations most likely to go? And it's community colleges. But if we've got less money from the state, how do we expand? Well, one way of expansion is through, massively open online courses or some type of online learning. But those institutions that are most likely to do that are the institutions that are well funded, that have an infrastructure for developing, big courses. That's not community colleges. The students that are most adept at dealing with online learning are not first-generation learners who've never participated in anything like that before. So there's a double whammy that the community colleges are facing. And I don't think there's an answer. I don't think we should throw up our hands in resignation. But it's a real challenge. On the one hand, we have to increase access. We have to increase participation, which suggests that community colleges need to do more. And we always like to say that adage, we have to do more with less. But at some point, you do less with less. This country has no history of successful strategies in terms of transfer. Some are better than others, but I think any of us who have, spouses, partners, sons, and daughters would, if the potential student said he or she wanted to get a 4-year degree, very few people would say, oh, let's start at the community college. So I like that article, and I think there are roles that can be played, and I think that we will see an increase in transfer rates, but it will have less to do with institutional agents and probably more to do with state policies that are putting into 2-year institutions students who are more likely to transfer. And I like Dr. Kurlander's work a lot, but there are two things in California that we need to recognize and deal with. One of the things they mentioned in that article is that the state now has mandated a transfer policy between 2- and 4-year institutions. The reality of that is, my prediction will be that legislation is not going to be successful. It's not going. Basically what they're saying is if you take English 101 in the community college, you can transfer it to the 4-year CSU institution. I bet we don't see much of that happening. And it's because of the first-year classes that they're speaking of. Because there are simply too many first-year classes. What happens is we've got a student who wants to take English 101. The only time he can take it is a Tuesday evening. And he's foreclosed. He registers late. He doesn't get in that class, but Sociology 101 is available, and doesn't realize that Soc 101 is not English 101, so doesn't get the transfer. So what they're talking about is essential, that we deal with course-taking patterns, really not just in the first year, but their entire academic career. But my guess is that not a lot is going to change. I like that article the best. And I liked it, I think, because maybe it's my own bias, but I like articles that focus on a particular constituency. And they did. And it provided some insight to me in terms of a particular group of students taking courses and how the challenges they face. And sometimes I think we think that all at-risk students are alike. And that's really not the case. It is certainly true that first-generation students of color, however you want to define it, face particular challenges. But as this article points out, I think that if you're single mothers, you face challenges that you share with other first-generation students, but you also have unique challenges, and that's what this article points out. It's a nice piece.